Last year, when I saw the Lifetime movie Under the Christmas Tree, I was delighted. We'd finally been given a lesbian Christmas movie in keeping with the deluge of hetero Christmas films out there, and in terms of vibes, it squarely hit that aesthetic. While Christmas movies with sapphic ladies have been accumulating, this was, in my opinion, the first that really hit it on the head, thus taking out my top spot on my fave Christmas film list. And to boot, it had some quality actors and some actual chemistry. But then this year rolled around and I was wondering, was it as good as I remember, or was it just my giddy excitement at getting a Christmas crumb? So I rewatched it. Under the Christmas Tree is about Charlie, a tree whisperer from the governor's office who has come to the vibrant but delightfully quaint small town of Camden. She is after the best tree in Maine to feature as the state Christmas tree after a freak ice storm took out the previous one, and a lot is riding on this tree selection, in fact, her whole career. With the help of a drone, she narrows in on a tree which just happens to be on a property that our other leading lady, Alma, is about to inherit from her parents when they retire. When Alma spots Charlie in town later that day with her drone, she approaches because the drone had disturbed her chickens that morning, but the moment she lays eyes on Charlie, she is speechless. Also, Ricki Lake is there, and she, along with Alma, owns a high-end French patisserie, which is the perfect place for Alma to run into Charlie again for some flirty banter and heart eyes. They run into each other again at Alma's parents' house because Charlie turned up to convince her parents to give the tree to the state, which they are happy to do, but Alma is decidedly less keen. In fact, she says no. Charlie is convinced she can get Alma to change her mind, but the pressure from her boss is on. There is a time limit, and she finds out that she doesn't even need Alma's permission to take the tree because the property is still in her parents' name. And while that will eventually threaten the budding romance between Charlie and Alma, we get served up with Christmas holiday staples like a small town business under threat, the aforementioned small town bakery that is thriving, a gingerbread competition for our ladies, a fortune teller, a Christmas party, a romantic dinner by candlelight, and a Christmas tree lighting. So, as I said at the start, it's in keeping with the plethora of cliched Christmas films that seem to saturate our consciousness at this time of year. And while my second rewatch didn't quite have me giggling my delight as much as last year, there are some things that pull this movie above the banal mediocrity of the majority of its cousins. Firstly, the cast is decent. Anyone who is a fan of Camilla will immediately recognize Elise Bauman, and I was delighted to see her getting to play something more mainstream. I thought Elise did a solid job here because the script is what you'd expect a Christmas film from Lifetime to be. It did get a little clever in places with how it nicely tied in some threads, but I'll talk about that in a moment. In other ways, it was less clever, such as some of the dialogue, and it's a credit to Elise that I didn't cringe. She managed to give the line reading enough grounding and believability, as did the other cast members. Charlie is played by Tatiana Jones, who has been in shows like The Handmaid's Tale, The 100, and most recently, she's in Orphan Black Echoes. So, she's getting her fingers into some sapphic shows there. I also have to make note of Alma's parents being played by Enrico Colantoni, who was also in Carmilla, and Wendy Crewson. They have both done a big body of work over the years, and they are most definitely familiar faces to me. Then there is Ricki Lake as Marie, who of course most famously had her talk show in the 90s. Sean Ahmed as Rohan is the greenest of the main cast, but he's been tearing it up since. Well done him. Quite honestly, it's the cast that made the script work, which is not always easy. There is a very specific tone to these kinds of Hallmark Lifetime Christmas films, which to deliver without it feeling completely hokey is a skill. Most crucially, Charlie and Alma had chemistry, which surprisingly is not infrequently missing from these rom-coms. You'd think they'd be very carefully cast to ensure that, but often it's up to the audience to project the chemistry onto the couple. They just find two good-looking leads and assume it'll be enough. And to be fair, given how popular this genre of movie is, it seems to be working, but I do require a little more than that, and thankfully here it delivered. I believed these two were immediately into each other, and I thought their flirting was delightful, as was how Alma's parents and Marie were so clearly cheerleading the couple getting together. I was struck by how they so casually put in sapphic references. They were gay, out and proud, no drama about that. How could I not be charmed? And then when it came to the climax of the film, where it looks like things might be over, is that actual emotion I see brimming in their eyes? Amazing! Oscar-worthy! Of course I joke, but it struck me both times I watched. I believed that they were struggling with their feelings for each other and the consequences of the whole tree issue. While some of the dialogue was a little hokey, the script did do its thing well. The script was written by Michael J. Murray, whose writing career seemed to be nothing but Christmas films, so it was in experienced hands. At the least, he understood the genre and the assignment, and like I mentioned on the trope front, it delivered, even stepping it up a notch to have Alma taking over a Christmas catalogue company. I like the meet cute, for example, because rather than it being total happenance, it was motivated by the drone sound that scared Alma's chickens in the opening sequence. The chickens were then used throughout the story with the introduction of the mystery around their names, and that was pulled through the rest of the script to create some lovely relationship building with Alma and Charlie, and then when the mystery of their names were solved, it tied into the lesbian theme, even if I was a bit miffed that it cut their first kiss short. Equally, the small little side story of the owl, which seemed totally irrelevant to the story and could be dismissed as colouring in of detail to flesh the characters out, ends up being a kind of good spirit that helps resolve the Christmas tree dilemma. In that way, the script was clever, although I did on the second rewatch find that the story was a bit thin on the ground. While I appreciate all the Christmas set pieces, I was wanting them to move things along a little quicker. So I guess you could say I felt just a little bored, which I most certainly wasn't the first time. Equally, it felt a little odd to me that Alma's parents were so keen for Charlie to take the Christmas tree when it's been such a centerpiece of the community for so long. It's not like Charlie was hurting for alternatives to choose from, and while I get that Charlie needed to fixate on this one tree for the film to have some kind of stakes, her insistence felt a little bit contrived. So all in all, the film is solid, but I'm quite ready for it to be knocked off its perch by A Family and Friend Christmas that Hallmark is releasing this Sunday. Keep an eye out for my review of that to see if it usurps Under the Christmas Tree for the #1 spot. Click on your screen for my sapphic Christmas playlist, and until next time, lady lovers.